like a release for me, like a hobby ever since I was little. I used to escape through art and drawing and doodling. And so, yeah, it's always been there for me, like a friend. And then about 5 years ago, I had like this juncture where I was working the seminar director's job. So I was traveling all over the place.
Um, I started taking lessons when I was 4 or 5 years old. I liked a lot of things. When I was a kid, I took different visual arts. You know, my parents, they wanted me to know a lot in the arts. So I did acting. I was in radio plays when I was a kid.
So I went ahead and I took 2 years off just to pursue art as a professional. And that was really hard because my family thought I was crazy. And then also my skills weren't at the level of what I wanted to produce at that time.
I was 4 or 5, and I started choreographing very young.
Thoughts and ideas. And that's what we study in cognitive psychology. Actually, we are focusing on how we get the input from the outside, transform this sensory inputs into concepts and mental representation, and then they reach the level of abstract ideas.
I have real thoughts and I have political thoughts and controversial thoughts, and my art allows me to be as big as I want to be.
I think I become more aware, both inside and outside. So I think I mentioned when I'm doing a new piece, everything somehow weaves its way into it. Sometimes there are parts to it that I know are going to be there, and then I very specifically have to get music for that, or I have to do movement for that. But often it's combined. It's both.
An artist that is simply absorbing what I see out in the world and putting it on paper or on canvas or on walls. I don't want to like really categorize myself. I'm just putting my expression and my feelings out, and sometimes people connect with it, sometimes people don't. Sometimes people think it's political or controversial, and that's not even my intent. That my intent is just to express my thoughts and feelings.
It's what we call the preparation. Typically, the preparation in the creative process begins with how the artist or the person, it can be designer, it can be a thinker, it can be scientist, whatever creative act, regardless of the format. Typically, it begins with how you can gather information and acquire the knowledge from previous experience, from what's going on around you, from your observation, from your feelings.
The process of creating and knowing like the steps that you have to take, that you're starting off with a blank canvas, and every single dot of paint, every single, I don't know, even the thing that you choose to be your canvas is an option. It's everything's intentional.
Get more of my feelings and emotions that are very personal. I had to work really hard for that because, again, my work originally was much more conceptual. My most well-known dance, I think, was the tennis dances that I did in '79 that we still do. And it was totally conceptual, not related to any strong feelings that I had about anything. And I worked that way for a while. And at a certain point, I felt I was lacking in certain things. Maybe because I went to someone who held their hands over my head and she said, your vibrations, you're missing grounding. You're too lifted into the air. You need more grounding. And I started working on being more grounded and going a little bit deeper for things that I wanted to come out in my dances.
So visual arts, it's just like creating anything. You have to have knowledge of what you're going to be producing first. I like to have a good grounding in, I guess, the information surrounding the topic first. So I'll take maybe a week or two and just do research, straight research. And then from there, then I'll formulate my ideas, gathering my inspiration.
When I am doing a dance, I always give a warm-up. with my dancers. And we always do the same warm-up. And then everybody is breathing together and working together. That's really important to set it up.
Does it smell like? What does it sound like? What's the, the best place to go to? And just gathered information. And then I took that and then, also created like a mood board of like all of the visuals that I wanted to include, and then took that and created my proposal.
And all these different sources are raw material for the input, and this input will converge at some point because you are the receiver of this input or different inputs. And the gathering of this information is like you are preparing some sort of warehouse for all the sensory inputs coming from different sources, and it will become like the founding or the building blocks of what's going to be called later on the creative process.
I feel like every piece is different, to be perfectly honest. I am working on trying to regiment my process because it's annoying. I will say that a deadline is a really good motivator for me. So what I've been doing as of late is setting markers throughout the year of like what I want to accomplish, and then, checking back.
My dances have always been reviewed actually as transformational and spiritual. I don't like to leave people depressed. I like to feel that someone that has experienced my work is uplifted somehow.
Each piece really has a different spirit to it, to be perfectly honest. There's moments where I'm just like so jovial, and I just like want to, it's my escape, so I just want to like release all the BS of reality. And so I'll have like my funny face portraits. And I think that that's just really playful and jovial. And then there's other times where it's like almost a dance of my soul, where I'm just trying to just express like from the deepest pit, you know what I mean? So I think it just depends on the piece and the moment that I'm in.
Once I start it, if I have the right things in it, it's a combination of me and the dancers I'm working with and the music. It kind of does it itself. It tells me what should happen next. It's almost like sculptors say they uncover their sculpture. I almost feel like the dance somehow is there and I'm uncovering it.
And the third stage is very known since the Eureka. It's Eureka, I discovered, I found it. It's like some sort of insight or illumination. And that's what it's called the illumination stage, because it's like a lamp has been put on.
Then from the research, then I'll pull from my inspirations. I feel like I like to have a good balance between my own personal art, stuff that I'm inspired by, but then also taking on the challenge of a commission.
All dances that were in a circle very much represent people. I did a lot of folk dancing when I was younger. I feel that people, when they dance together, especially in a circle, it's extremely important, and it does something. Yeah, I think dance is the essence of people being able to work together and move together.
Take the time to focus or self-reflect on themselves to find the solution or to engage in some sort of how you connect the dots between different inputs that you gathered in the first stage.
Putting out conscious material is hard because I'm literally just documenting what it's like to be a Black woman in this time, and people view it as being controversial or political, and I'm just like, this is me, this is my life, this is my reality, and if you think it's harsh, then try to be me, or at least see the world from my shoes or my perspective.
I was so fortunate. I had other people I could do my ideas with. I just feel so lucky I can't tell you how lucky I feel.